markets have closed here this afternoon, and that means it's time for an in-depth look at the past week in terms of the global economy. And for that, I'm joined in the studio by Dr. Kim Seiwan, Professor of Economics at Ewha Womans University. Thanks for coming on, Dr. Kim.
Pleasure to be here.
Now, the U.S. and Japan, they're holding a second round of trade talks in the U.S. It's expected that this would focus on the farm sector, agricultural goods, but also cars. What do we know so far, and what can we expect to come out of this?
First of all, the trade talk between U.S. and Japan is a very important barometer of future Korea-U.S. talk on automobile and agricultural products, export and import. So we have to keep an eye on it in the near future. This time, U.S. wants to decrease its trade deficit from Japan by increasing their agricultural product export to Japan. And on the other side, Japan wants to confirm that there will be no further tariffs on Japan's automobile export to the United States. It looks this time that these two countries are exchanging these two items to each other. That means U.S. will increase its agricultural products to Japan, and U.S. won't be imposing further tariffs on Japanese automobile export to United States.
Is currency a major issue here?
Currency is also a major issue, but it is really sensitive issue. But they have something independent talk about the Japanese yen's devaluation and appreciation. But Japanese government is pretty much avoiding further talks on this issue because U.S. government is trying to appreciate Japanese yen. And if that happens, that's going to be another shock to Japanese economy after 1985 G7 meeting.
Yeah, indeed, and we'll see Prime Minister Abe and President Trump meeting on Friday. Meanwhile, in Beijing, we have the One Belt, One Road Forum. 37 government leaders from around the world meeting there to discuss this project, including South Korea's Minister of Economy and Finance. Now, what should we be watching at this forum, and what do you think will come out of that?
Well, it is going to be a huge meeting between the top leaders of the world, which is hosted by Chinese government. Except the United States, actually. U.S. has been pretty much unhappy with One Belt, One Road initiative from the beginning. Regarding the achievements of One Belt and One Road projects, there are mixed views. Some Asian and African countries participated actively through huge support of the Chinese government. But it is also true that some countries are in trouble and having a really hard times because of the hugely accumulated debt against Chinese banks and Chinese government. Because of that, some European countries like Switzerland, Italy, and Greece are delaying their participation on Chinese projects. And in the end, Chinese big dream of extending their economic power to European continent is kind of delayed.
Yeah, we see some projects have been canceled in some places.
Right.
And the debt, obviously a big issue. Now, this week, back here in Korea, we have the Moon Jae-in administration submitting a supplementary budget to the National Assembly worth somewhere a little less than $6 billion. They say that if they spend the whole thing, then that could raise Korea's GDP, which is in trouble right now, by 1/10 of a percentage point. But we have a lot of people also against this.
Right.
What do you think?
Well, as you said, $6 billion or 6.7 trillion won supplementary budget will give a positive impact on increasing income of the nation because it is going to be an income of somebody and income of some corporations. So that goes to more consumption and more investment for sure. However, there are two major problems. First problem is the tax collection is not enough for this year. So this time, 6.7 trillion won of the supplementary budget should be financed by issuing new government bonds. And that, in the end, worsens the budget situation of the Korean government. And second problem is Korean government is trying to stuff expense items after fixing total amount of the supplementary budget, which is 6.7 trillion won, which is something unnecessary items like something expenses on anti-pollution system and something compensation for that old-fashioned cars and so on. So therefore, that kind of unnecessary spending items from government will cause a problem of biased expense problem and unfairness problem in the end.
Is it becoming a long-term thing? Because this is not the first time in recent years we've had a supplementary budget.
Right. Almost every year, starting from 2008's financial crisis, global financial crisis, Korean government is trying to build up a supplementary budget. But it is pretty much expected that there would be another round of the supplementary budget for this year.
All right, Dr. Kim, that's where we'll have to leave it today. But thanks so much for your insights this week, as always.
Thank you very much.